You really can't get away from it. Every day when you turn on the news, when you talk with your friends, when you get on social media, it feels like everyone is pressing you to think what they think. But it's time to settle down and ask what you think. We want to help. So here's why we've decided to launch YouThink. More than ever before, there are individuals in our lives, our friends, news outlets, even foreign governments who are flooding us every day with claims. We're not all that well equipped to evaluate all of those claims in order to figure out what's true, what's false, or what we really can't know to be true or false. On top of all that, we all come to these claims with our own biases. We come with our own expectations, with our own suspicions about what we think is likely true. And it's all coming at us so fast and sometimes with so much passion that we really don't have time or ability to stop and carefully examine every claim, every meme, every post that our trusted friends put out there on social media. We tend, it seems, to just nod our heads and like and share the stuff that's most consistent with what we already think, or the stuff that seems to confirm what we've already been saying. And we get a lot of approval for that, especially approval from our friends who think just exactly as we do. Sometimes we learn, though, that not all of our friends agree with us. So we stir up controversy too, but somehow that's a good thing in the minds of many, because then we have friends who are cheering us on for standing up for whatever cause we might be united around. So what's wrong with this cycle? If you are going to be honest, I think you might be able to admit that sometimes you feel stupid when you find out that you've shared and that you've stood up for something that really is not true at all, never was. In the end, maybe you end up feeling guilty, maybe ashamed, for passing along claims that just are not true. And in some cases, assuming that reports are true, you've actually helped foreign governments spread fake news that could actually affect our government and our future together. So what can we do about it? First of all, let's let go of the idea that we're going to outlaw free speech. We're not going to outlaw free speech, not in America, not if we're going to remain free, not if we're going to continue to have a free press. At least let's hope that we never have a government that tells us what we're allowed to think or say. Most of us certainly don't want the government to become the final arbiter of truth. Secondly, we're not going to be able to convince everybody to stop making up nonsense and spreading it around. That's just not going to happen. Whatever has motivated people to do that in the past will continue to motivate people to do that in the future. And thirdly, it just doesn't make sense to decide to just put your trust in one source and declare that that source has a monopoly on truth-telling, even if that source demands that they're fair and balanced, or the most trusted name in news. In the end, you are the one who is going to have to take the time to up your game and learn how to filter claims that come to you. No one can do that for you, and you don't want anyone to do that for you. In fact, when you finish going through this material, if you really go through it carefully, you're going to feel more comfortable, more at ease, and more confident when you learn how to evaluate claims for yourself. It'll come second nature. It doesn't matter if your politics tend to be to the left or to the right. The principles of careful and disciplined thinking are the same. They haven't changed since Aristotle. If your theology is liberal or conservative, or specific to some particular religion, it doesn't change. Evaluating claims using reasonable principles do not change. But before you begin working your way through these things, let's try to at least set the table a little bit with some principles that we're trying to follow here. First of all, we're going to try to stay with this principle that the one and only reason to believe a thing is because that thing is true. That might sound overly simple, and it is. But upon reflection and observation, you might discover that there are thousands of reasons that people have for believing what they choose to believe that have nothing whatsoever to do with whether or not those things are true. We tend to believe some claims because believing them gives us some advantage. We tend to believe some things because we badly want to believe them. But we hope you'll approach this with an internal commitment to this single reason for believing that anything is certainly true. And if you're not prepared to be challenged by the possibility that you might have been mistaken in the past and you might have some things yet to learn, you'll probably find that this material isn't valuable for you. That kind of leads us to a second principle. This material is not just to be used to develop arguments for what you already believe. In fact, that can be dangerous. If your conclusions come first and then you go fishing for evidence to support your conclusions, you're going to miss the most important values that can be found in this material. In fact, after you have reached responsibly and rationally conclusions, then the supporting arguments will be right there in front of you. You'll know what you believe and why you believe it, and you'll have no trouble explaining that to others and defending it without feeling threatened when others disagree with you. In a way, we're going to turn you into a reasoning machine. Use your superpower for good. Don't use it to manipulate other people, not even to influence other people unless your one and only goal is to help them see a truth that you've found. And unless your friends have worked through this material, or if they've taken a good course in critical reasoning, they're not likely to follow how you got to the conclusions you've gotten to. You kind of have to get used to that. Friends don't conform to friends to keep friends. Friends don't reject friends because they fail to conform. That's enough for now. We hope that you'll come back. Be sure to leave your comments and questions below. Share it with your friends. Check out the next video in our series. It'll be coming soon. Next, we're going to look at non-logical, more like irrational influences that shape our thinking that have no basis in logic or critical thinking. Once you identify them and understand them, they'll lose all power over you. So be sure to subscribe and stick around.